Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to our weekly Sunday session. We will get started with our session with the Mangalachal prayers. Rashmi Mataji has agreed to chant the prayers. I'll just share the screen so that you can chant this. Mata, you can see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can see the screen.
Yes. I'll change the screen and then you can chant.
Okay, okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता शिवशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती इति नामिने श्री वृषभानवी देवी ध्यायत्य कृपा दायते कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञाय दायिने प्रभावते नमः मधुर
माधुर्योज्वल प्रेमधाय श्रीरूपानंद भक्तिदार श्री गौरव करुण शक्ति विग्रहाय नमस्ते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्री दीनतारिणे Listen,
नमो गौर किशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भारसम्बोधे पदाम्बुजया ते नमः नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगावराय ते गौरविरभाव भूमिस्त्वं निरदेशता सज्ञानप्रिया वैष्णवा सर्वभौमाय श्रीजगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि शक्तिकाम् हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनीश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very devotional team on the process.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And there were some words that I mispronounced and I was unable to chant. I'll definitely learn, Prabhuji, and try to sing more nicely and more melodiously next time. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for giving me the chance. Thank you. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your enthusiasm. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandvat
Hare
pranam.
Krishna.
There is some issue with sound, Prabhuji. It is not very proper like usual. Hare Krishna.
Hello, is this better?
Better than before, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hello. All right. So let's begin with our today's session. Um, so let me just try and close the invitation. System closes the invitation. I'll just close some applications. So hopefully it should improve the audio quality. So yeah, let's get started with today's session. We have a very interesting topic coming up. And so we are in the process in the middle of discussing the verses from Sri Upanishad. And as we have covered a few verses, we have covered 4 verses plus invocation first. We started with introduction as usual, and then with invocation, and then the 4 verses first. We have discussed in the previous sessions. And so we'll have a quick overview of the whole book, and then we will progress towards the session. So the topic for today, as you would have seen, is a paradoxical Ishvara. I didn't mention that in the invite because it can become very confusing. Last time it was mystical. This time it is paradoxical. What's going on? So I thought let's keep it simple. Prabhupada brings up a point of deity worship in this purport. So we will try and focus on the deity worship principles, and the questions around that will be discussed. The whole book is 18 verses in total, plus invocation, the Om Purnamadam Purnamadam. So that makes it 19 verses. And so the first invocation to verse 3, that's where the instruction is to live in harmony with Ishvara. Everything is owned and controlled by Ishvara. And we are all governed by the laws of Ishvara. Even though we may believe in Ishvara, we may not believe in Ishvara, doesn't matter. But everyone is bound by the laws made by Ishvara. Everyone is bound, is controlled by the Prakriti, who is directly working under the supervision of that Ishvara, that God. So the Ishopanishad, the book per se, comes in the Shruti Purana. And this book per se does not speak about who that Ishvara is. It doesn't give identification of that Ishvara, but it speak about that Ishvara. These verses reveal a lot of information about Ishvara, and but it doesn't identify that one person who is that Ishvara. And but it points that this Ishvara must be a person, must be an individual. And it's little paradoxical, it's a little mystical person. Is not a very ordinary person. And that is what this book takes us to. And then we study Bhagavad Gita, which identify that person as Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada, in his purports, also has avoided directly mentioning Lord Krishna because he's using this book. This book is typically used by Mayavadi philosophers to propagate Mayavad. They believe this book confirms the conclusions of Mayavad, that Ishvara is formless. Ishvara, there's no form of Ishvara. The forms are temporary, we have to go beyond the form. And that is their conclusion of Mayavad philosophy. And they believe this book support their philosophy. However, Prabhupada has expertly, what he has done is he has expertly used the concepts and the language of Mayavadis to prove the point that how Ishvara is a person. How the same book which the Mayavadis believe, it is in support of Mayavad. Prabhupada has proven otherwise, has proven that the same book using the same verses, the same Sanskrit verses, Prabhupada has proven the point that the Ishvara is a person. So the first three verses, and plus invocation, talks about, gives us an instruction that we must live in harmony with that Ishvara. Now, if you want to live in harmony with somebody, so that Ishvara has given some instructions, and there are some do's and there are some don'ts. We should enjoy what is the allocated quota to you. You should not try and enjoy or own somebody else's property, knowing to whom it belongs to, and whom it belongs to the Ishvara. Everything is owned and controlled by Ishvara. So, if we want to follow somebody's instructions, we should know that person in better or more closely. We should know that person, and hence, the subsequent verses, the 4 to 8, this section of verses, will talk about how Ishvara cannot be understood by material vision, material intelligence. By one normal, the way we understand this current world, this is called material world because this is consisting of matter. Matter are things which we can see, feel, touch, measure, and experiment with. But we cannot experiment with Ishvara. We cannot put Ishvara under a microscope and try and see Ishvara, where you are and what are your characteristics. That is not possible. So Ishvara can be understood only by developing spiritual vision. And how that is done is explained in the verses from 4 to 8. Mantra 9 to 11 talks about wrong and right vidya. Vidya means knowledge, and how we can cultivate right and wrong knowledge. What is wrong knowledge? What is right knowledge about that Ishvara, understanding that Ishvara. So that is explained in the set of verses from 9 to 11. Mantra 12 to 14 will discuss about right and wrong upasana. These are set of verses, and we'll see very beautiful verses. These are. Then we'll reach that section. We'll understand that what it means, the right and wrong upasana for worshipping the Ishvara. And then mantra 15 to 18, 15, 16, 17, 18, the 4 mantras. We are offering prayers to that Ishvara. They're offering prayers to the Ishvara to reveal himself. We can know Ishvara only up to a certain point by our own endeavor. But we can know him more, we can know him better, we can know him completely if he chooses to reveal himself to us. And there are beautiful prayers from verse 15 to 18 where we can pray to Ishvara. The last verse, so we are in the second section. The first section comprises of told us that everything is owned and controlled by Ishvara. So live in harmony with Ishvara. Ishvara is the boss. The God is that boss. The absolute truth. The word typically used to describe that Ishvara is the absolute truth. Because everything else in the world is not absolute truth. Everything else has dualities. So this is absolute truth. The Param Satya, as it is described in Hindi. So we are in the second section. In the middle of second section, we have discussed first verse. No, fourth verse we have already spoken about. Discussed. This verse, the title for the previous Sunday session was Mystical Ishvara. Because this verse, as we are trying to know this Ishvara more, the verse reveals that the Ishvara conducts activities which sounds very mystical, which sounds very conflicting with each other. Last verse we discussed that although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than mind. So he is fixed at one place, but he can run over. He's very fast. He's very swifter than everyone. He is even powerful demigods cannot approach him. And although in one place he controls those who supply air and rain. Now air is everywhere. Air is everywhere on this planet. This entire universe, air is there. Rain is everywhere. And those who supply the air and rain are powerful deities. There is a Varun Dev, there is Indra Dev, and this verse says that he doesn't go anywhere, but he controls those who supply rain and air, which means he's most powerful person in this creation. Then he surpasses all in excellence. Whatever good anybody might have, he surpasses them all in the excellence. The second verse, in this section, the fifth verse that we will discuss today, is going to take this this knowledge deeper. The mystery now is going to become a paradox. This verse is again a very beautiful verse. Tad e jati, tana na e jati. Tad e jati. E jati means walk. Tad e jati. Tad e jati. That supreme absolute truth, the supreme Lord. E jati means walk, and tan na e jati, and he does not walk. Now, one may wonder what's happening here. You either walk or you don't walk. But this verse says that Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. Next, it goes further and it says that Tada Dure Tadava Antike. That he is far away, Dure is far away, Bahut dur hai, and Tadava Antike. And but he is very near as well. Now, again, very contradictory seeming statements. How can you be near and far at the same time? अगर कोई दूर है, somebody I'm saying that Vikas Prabhu today attending class from Haridwar. So he is either far or he's close. He can't be both. I'm in Mumbai, he's in Haridwar. It can't be simultaneously true in both ways. So this verse says that Ishvara is Dure, he is far, and Tadava Antike, he is near as well. Further, the verse says that Tada Antar Asya Sarvasya, that absolute truth, that Ishvara is within everything. He's Tada Antar Asya Sarvasya. He's within everything. And Tadva Sarvasya Bahyataha. Tadva Sarvasya Bahyata means he is outside everything. So again, if you take the entire look at the whole purport, the Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside everything. So when we read the translation and the verse is very easy to pronounce, but it's kind of gives a paradox. It kind of creates confusion, because the statements which are used are contradictory in nature, contradictory to each other. So does it make sense? How do we understand this? Let's go through the purport. That's why we have beautiful purports given by Sri Ravi Prabhu, I'm muting you, sorry. So we don't have a lot of opportunity for discussion, group discussion, unfortunately, because this is a slightly technical subject, Mayavad. This is slightly technical, so we may discuss later, but at least for now we can be on mute. So overview of the purport, that Lord must be inconceivable. That's paragraph 1. How the absolute truth is far yet near. That's explained in paragraph 2. Paragraph 3 to 6 talks about science of deity worship. So Prabhupada used word that the science of deity worship. It's not sentiment of deity worship. It is science. And Nirguna yet Sabuna. Nirguna is without any qualities, and Sabuna is abode of all qualities, or Guna, all qualities. One who's with gunas. And then the last section is verse A, paragraph 8 and 9 talks about how Lord pervades everything, yet he is separate. How Lord pervades everything, and yet he is separate from everything. Um, we'll dive that straight into the purpose for today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We picked up a picture of Prabhupada offering prayers, offering worship to Krishna Balram while inaugurating the Krishna Balram temple in Vrindavan, or Islam Vrindavan. So the same deities, the same Krishna Balram seek their blessings and seek blessings from Srila Prabhupada. We discuss this paradoxical verse, conflicting verse, this contradictory verse, and we get good understanding of that by their mercy. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that here is a description of some of the Supreme Lord's transcendental activities executed by his inconceivable potencies. Now, these are activities performed by Lord, and he has inconceivable potencies. Activities are transcendental and potencies are inconceivable. Now, when we say transcendental and inconceivable, it is not to say that, that it's not avoid, it's not saying that if sometimes some people can't answer any question, they said it's great, it's so great, we can't explain. Now, it's not that, it's not saying like that. It's, of course, we can definitely, even if these are inconceivable, we can definitely try and understand. And we get mercy from Krishna to understand Krishna. But definitely there is a logic that we can bring in to make sense of things as well. So even if it is inconceivable, we can understand those by the grace of God and grace of Acharyas. So these are Lord's transcendental activities executed by his inconceivable potencies. This is the description of this verse is description of that. Prabhupada writes further that contradictions given here prove the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. He walks and he does not walk. Ordinarily, if someone can walk, it is illogical to say he cannot walk. But in reference to God, such a contradiction simply serves to indicate his inconceivable potencies. Within our limited knowledge, we cannot understand such contradictions. So, and therefore, we think the Lord in terms of our limited powers of understanding. So, what Prabhupada is warning us is that we don't have to measure Lord with our scale of measurement. Our scale of measurement in the material world, if somebody is saying that you walk but you cannot walk, then we'll be telling that person is a liar. Either he can walk or he cannot walk. We can do both the things simultaneously. So Prabhupada is warning us that we can't use our measures to understand Krishna, or measures of our understanding. Based on our understanding, we cannot perceive Krishna. Krishna has different scale of measurement for himself. So Prabhupada gives example that, for example, the impersonalist philosophers of the Mayavada school accept only the Lord's impersonal activities and reject his personal feature. But the members of Bhagavata school, adapting the perfect conception of the Lord, accept his inconceivable potencies and thus understand that he is both personal and impersonal. The Bhagavatas knows that without inconceivable potencies, there can be no meaning to the word Supreme Lord. So there is a lot of emphasis given to the inconceivable potencies, and by these potencies, he is both personal and impersonal. And without potencies, there is no meaning to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord has to be supreme. Means he has to be omnipotent. Omnipotent means Lord can do anything. Nothing is impossible for Lord to do. And so for him to say that he cannot do something is limiting his capabilities, which means then he is not Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord has those three qualities also. He is omnipotent, he is omniscient, he knows everything, he is omnipotent, he can do everything, and he is omnipresent. He is present everywhere. So these are additional three qualities of the same Supreme Lord. Anybody who claim to be Supreme Lord should have all those three qualities as well. So um, Krishna has those qualities, therefore he is Lord. Prabhupada explains the first concept, that how Lord is far away but very near also. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, the abode of the Lord is beyond the material sky, and we have no means to measure even this material sky. If the material sky extends so far, then what to speak of the spiritual sky, which is altogether beyond this material sky? That the spiritual sky is situated for far, far away from the material universe is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.6. Na tad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. That dham is mama dham, that tad dhama paramam mama, my dham, my abode, is not illuminated by sun and electricity and fire that we use in the material world for getting light, and otherwise without sun, without moon, without fire, without electricity, this world will become a deep dark place. It's a dark material world. It's a material world is filled with ignorance. Ignorance means darkness, and literally without sun there will be darkness. So Krishna has arranged for a sun for this material world to give light. And then we have developed electricity, which replaces sun in the night time. But without, but Krishna says fire abode is self-illuminated abode. It does not require sun for light. It doesn't have dependency on sun for light. It is self-effulgent abode. It's a self-illuminated abode. And so Prabhupada writes that since we can't even measure current sky, our material sky, we cannot measure. There is no means available to measure the sky. So what to speak if material sky cannot be measured? What to speak of spiritual sky, which is far beyond this material sky? We have no conception of that. We cannot figure out. Our tiny brain cannot even figure out how about the material sky. So Prabhupada writes further that, but despite the Lord's being so far away, he's in the so far away, he's in the spiritual world, in the spiritual sky, in the spiritual abode. Though he's far away, he is within, he can at once within less than a second descend before us, and with a speed swifter than that of a mind or a wind. So the mind, the wind, wind is considered to be the faster, the very wind, light, and all faster than all of that is the speed of mind. But here Prabhupada writes that even swifter than the speed of mind is the speed of Lord. Within less than a second, Lord can appear before us, even though physically he could be located far, far, far away from the material world. So, how do we understand these contradictions? So, God, how do we make logical sense of these contradictions? That's a really question. So, God, Prabhupada writes that God is not to be understood by logic. Now, God is not illogical. Doesn't mean that God is illogical. No, God is translogical. Means what is illogical? Something that doesn't make sense, that doesn't stand the basic scrutiny of logic, that is illogical. But translogical is something that is where in front of whom the logic doesn't stand. Now, Krishna, Ishvara is so great, so supreme that he cannot be understood by logic, because logic cannot stand before God. Logic comes after God. It's not before God. So Krishna cannot be understood by, if you can understand by the absolute truth or the God or Ishvara, he can be only understood by simple logic, then the logic would become superior to Ishvara. But that's not the case. And we'll see this with the help of an example, that what is logic and what is translogical. So the torchlight is very useful when it is done in the evening, when we are out somewhere, we want to search something. It becomes very handy that we carry a torch, we use torchlight. We can find things. So it's very useful when it is dark. When it is dark, obviously sun is not there. But using the same torch at night, we cannot find sun. Why? Because sun is is beyond torchlight, beyond the reach of torchlight. So how can then we find sun? In the morning when sun will rise, we will see that sun in its full glory. We will experience the sun. We don't need torchlight then to point towards sun. Sun will be experienced in its completeness when he will rise in the morning. And that time we can see him even without torchlight. So this is God is like sun. God is like the sun, and torchlight is logic. So logic is very useful. But especially when the time when everyone claims themselves to be God. If somebody says, "I'm God," or the philosophy says, "We will become God." So if somebody claims to be God, we we must not blindly accept any such claims, which means the person who is claiming to be God need to prove his omnipotency, need to prove his omniscient, need to prove his omnipresent, and need to demonstrate who is God. It's logically, we should be able to ask these questions before accept anyone and everyone as God. And if he and anybody Prabhupada once said that I am God, and then Prabhupada said I am Queen of England, doesn't make sense. Nobody is God. Had it been God, it would not have been here. And wouldn't be, we can't, somebody, Radhanath Maharaj explains this quite very nicely during a class, and somebody claimed to be God himself. And Maharaj then arranged for such a way that he kept him waiting he wanted to use washroom, and he said, "You cannot use washroom." And then he became extremely uncomfortable. And he says, "You're not God. You can't even control your, senses and bodily urges. So what to speak of you becoming God? So don't claim yourself to be God." So, it doesn't stand for anybody claiming himself to be God can't stand the basic scrutiny of logic. So this is illogical. So it's very useful. So the logic in general is very useful in understanding the world. What is God? But logic cannot replace an experience. What do I mean by that? So, for example, when we have a stomach pain, and go to a doctor, when doctor examine us very carefully and then say that cure your stomach pain, I have to cut your leg. This has to, whatever, we may not be medical expert, but whatever doctor says has to stand the scrutiny of basic logic. So this will not stand the scrutiny of logic. If my stomach is aching, I have stomach pain, how cutting my leg will help me cure the stomach pain? And so it is not logical. We conclude that it's not logical. So undergoing this experience, doctor may say that let me treat you first, and then you see, we will, but this doesn't stand the basic scrutiny of logic. So we should not be undergoing such experience that getting our leg cut to get cured from the stomach pain. It's not, it's stupid. It doesn't meet the basic scrutiny of logic. So, uh, even though the doctor may claim that you will have relief from stomach pain, we will not undergo such experience. So logic is extremely useful to understand that which line of treatment I may undergo, I may undertake. So when doctor explained me that this is the problem, this is because of which there could be stomach pain, and we will change your diet, regulate your eating timings, do some exercise, and take some medicine. If this continues, we may, relook at it, we may operate on it, or something like that. Then that may meet some basic logical scrutiny, and then we may agree to undertake that treatment, undergo that treatment. So um, logic is very useful initially. However, logic cannot replace personal experience. Whether a person get the experience that person will get of getting relief from the stomach pain cannot be understood by logic. So for that, one has to undergo the treatment. So, so in spiritual path, the logic we must use logic basically to differentiate between pseudo or shadow spirituality and real spirituality. We have many brands of spirituality available. Spirituality, light spirituality, very light spirituality, very, very, very light spirituality. Everybody claims to be spiritual. Everyone claims to be chanting some mantras. Everybody seems to be doing something. And this is again within the within the world where people, so the whole world we may bifurcate between atheist or non-devotees and some kind of believers. So believers, non-believers. If we take that basic bifurcation and we rule out all the non-believers, we don't have anything to do with that. Now within the chunk, within the bucket of those who are believers or who claim themselves to be believers, doing some kind of spiritual practice, doing some kind of austerity, and that itself, there are many, many branches, many, seems to be many, many paths. Now, do all those paths lead to the same goal? May or may not be. Rather, it will not be, because most of those paths, if they are not bona fide paths, they will not be of any much help to you. So the logic is extremely, extremely important initially to differentiate between what is the right kind of spirituality, what is the right spirituality, what is the wrong spirituality, what is the pseudo or a shadow or a fake spirituality, which will not give us any benefit. Because why it is important? Because we all have limited time and resources. All of us could be in different stages in our life. We don't know when is our end, when when are we supposed to leave body. Our expiry date we are not aware. But what we have, today, whatever we possess, what time and resources we possess, we must make best use of this. It's in practicing the right spiritual path, so that if we take a wrong turn, it may take us a while to realize that we have taken wrong turn. Then from there, return to the origin, and then start on the right path may take extra more time. We don't have time. Just understand, none of us have time, unlimited time. So we are investing our time and energy resources in practicing spirituality, um, developing sentiment, loving sentiment towards Krishna. So it has to be done for the right cause, for the right path. So if our path becomes wrong, all our endeavors can become futile, can become waste. So hence the logic serves um, becomes extremely useful in deciding what is right and wrong path. However, once we have chosen the path, we must walk or practice the same to experience spiritual recovery. Now, the spiritual experience that we get is the evidence that we are doing the right thing. And what kind of experience we get by practicing Krishna consciousness? By practicing Krishna consciousness, first and foremost, we experience spiritual happiness. We can easily experience spiritual happiness in doing various Krishna conscious activities. Some experience happiness while doing japa, some experience happiness while participating in sankirtan, singing and dancing on the kirtan is instant way of experiencing spiritual happiness. Wherever you see kirtan going on, go close your eyes, sing along with the devotees. If they are dancing, dance with them. Nothing will give you more happiness than in this entire world than doing these two things, singing and dancing. Prasad, feasting on the prasad gives happiness. Unlimited ways in which we can access spiritual happiness by this looking, we taking darshan of beautifully dressed Radha Rasbiya ji, Radha Madhav, Jagannath ji. These are all ways in which we can experience spiritual joy. Spiritual joy, that's real happiness, and that we experience, and that's how we continue on the spiritual path. That's the evidence of we being on the right path. Additionally, we can experience that our anarthas are reducing. The lust, anger, greed, hate, envy, jealousy, and these are anarthas. They are troubling our mind all the time. And as we practice Krishna consciousness sincerely, with commitment, we try and get up in the morning, do japa. We read every day. We try and read every day from scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we can easily experience, and others can experience, our anarthas are reducing. Our humility is increasing. We may speak humbly that, oh Prabhu, I am the servant of your lotus feet. We may not always believe it. We may not always feel it. But by speaking it regularly, we can get to that consciousness that really I am a servant. Either I am a servant of my senses or I am a servant of Krishna. And I'm better to become servant of Krishna than becoming servant of my senses. and just simply work to satisfy my senses, which has unlimited desires, unlimited demands. It's a cruel master, the senses and the mind is. So rather become, I'll rather accept Krishna as my master. So this humility increases in devotees. The devotees may continue to be holding respectable positions in the society, but they become very humble. They understand that the talent, the abilities using which they have got that respectable position in the society comes from Krishna. And when Krishna wants, he can easily take away those abilities. So if somebody is a great speaker, his ability to speak comes from Krishna. Somebody can be very world famous actor. His ability to act comes from Krishna. Somebody is the greatest singer on the planet. Now his or her ability to sing comes from Krishna. That's everything comes from Krishna. So if everything comes from Krishna, but if everything is not used in service of Krishna, then it is a waste of our talent, waste of our ability. So we should use our abilities to earn our living, but after doing that, we should use our abilities for glorification of Krishna as well. That is right use of our abilities. We can experience that our attachment to hearing and chanting Krishna's glories increases. Our attachment to Krishna is increasing overall by practicing Krishna consciousness. Our relationship with devotees is improving, and our desire to serve Lord and His devotees, that is increasing. Now, these are evidences that if we choose right which will confirm whether we are on the right path or not right. The whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness is based on Bhagavad Gita. And after speaking Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Arjuna confirms his understanding to Krishna in the 18th chapter when he says, Nakto moha smritir labdha tat prasadam maya achyuta. I have Rashto Moha, my ignorance is gone. Smriti Labdha, I have regained my consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Uh, Tvat prasadam maya achyuta, by your mercy, O Achyuta, O the infallible Lord, by your mercy, by your grace, I have got this understanding. And Asthitosmi, now I'm fixed in my service and I'm fixed in my Krishna consciousness. I am not deviating. I'm not looking here, looking there. I'm not looking who is doing that service, who is doing this fast, who is going to that temple, who is reading that book, who is so within devotional path also, I'm fixed to Bhagavad Gita, I'm fixed to Lord Krishna, loving and serving Krishna. This is enough for me. I'm so stitosmi, I'm fixed in my Krishna consciousness. I have gata sandeha. I have lost no doubt in my life that Bhagavad Gita is the supreme scripture. Even if I can just understand Bhagavad Gita and follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, it is good enough for me to go back to Krishna. Gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. The vachanam, the speech of Krishna, the instructions from Krishna are in Bhagavad Gita, are in Srimad Bhagavatam. Karishye vachanam tava. I will do as you have told me to do. Whatever you will tell me to do, I will do. Now, this is in some substance of this paragraph. When we are getting where our service attitude towards Krishna is increasing, we are serving devotees, we are serving Lord, we are glorifying devotees, we are glorifying Lord. This is the end result of Karishya Vachanam Tava that Arjuna is speaking. This is what we are doing by slowly practicing Krishna consciousness daily in association of devotees. This is what we will attain, and we will become fixed. We will be without any doubt, asamshaya, without any doubt, gata sandeha. All doubts are gone, and that with that move we will be able to practice. But when we'll practice, we'll experience also. At that time, we don't having experienced Krishna's grace, having experienced spiritual happiness, having experienced reduction of anarthas, having experienced increasing of brahmanical qualities in us, we don't need logic. We don't need logic. It's like the sun of Krishna consciousness has already arisen on our consciousness. Sun of Krishna has already arisen in our consciousness, and now we no more need logic to see. We no more require a torch to see that sun. So logic becomes our servant, not our master. Whatever logic should not determine what is right and wrong beyond a point. Then the experience replaces logic, and the experience will tell us this is right. Experience of Krishna consciousness will subordinate the position of logic. And we don't, it's like when the sun has risen in his full glory. We don't, we can switch off the torch and just take a look at sun and smile. So that is what the role of logic will bring to us. So how do we understand this? How do we use this to understand the statements given in this particular verse? So contradictions and paradox. Now, contradictions are opposite statements which will not make sense. So if you are thin and you are fat, and that's true for material world. Paradox, on the other hand, means opposite seeming statements that make sense at a deeper level. Paradox means opposite seeming statements that make sense at a deeper level. What we need is more understanding, go deep in contemplating, get more additional information about those statements, and then those statements we can understand that they make sense as well. For example, least corrected papers are the most correct papers. Least corrected papers are the most correct papers. What it means is how this is contradictory or this is paradox. If it is least corrected paper, means teacher, when they're checking the papers, they use red pen, and they have done the least corrections, which means most things written by the student are correct because teacher didn't have to correct it. So the least corrected papers, less markings are there, the spelling is wrong, that or that this is irrelevant. So if a teacher has to do a lot of that, which means what is written is not correct. So least corrected papers are the most correct papers. So least and most, when they are used together, they seem contradictory, but they make sense at a deeper level. It's a paradox. We go slightly deeper to understand this, and then it makes sense. Yes, least corrected papers must be most correct papers because teacher didn't have to do a lot of corrections on those papers. Another sentence can be your oldest photograph is your youngest photograph. So the older your picture is, if you see my picture clicked 30 years ago and then 30 days ago, I will be looking younger in the one which was clicked 30 years ago. So the oldest is the youngest photograph. So these are contradictions. So let's understand this concept, how we can apply this concept in understanding this particular verse. This verse says the Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. Now we understand that from Bhagavad Gita we all have studied. We understand that Lord exists at three different levels. Krishna exists, the Supreme, the Absolute Truth exists at three levels. There's a Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Multiple times in Bhagavad Gita, while discussing Bhagavad Gita, we have discussed this concept that Brahman, he is all pervading, he is everywhere. Everything is Krishna's energy. It's like when we are cooking halwa in the home, suji halwa, especially when you roast suji on ghee, there's a fragrance, nice fragrance that comes, and that fragrance is filled inside the home, whatever 2 BHK, 3 BHK home that you might have. If it is cooked in kitchen, if it is that suji is getting roasted on in the kitchen, the fragrance of that will be filled in the entire home. Anybody who enters the home can smell it and say, "Wow, what's getting cooked?" And because that's filled everywhere. So that is like a Brahman realization of the absolute truth. Krishna is everywhere. Can you click a picture of that fragrance? No, because the fragrance, as a fragrance, is every nook and corner of the room, of this home. So there is no picture that can be clicked of that fragrance. Doesn't have a picture. Second realization is Paramatma. Krishna says, Ahamatma Gudakesha. That I'm seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Sarvasya cha aham hridisannivishto. That I am seated in the region of your heart. I am seated. so this Paramatma, what does this do? What does this Paramatma do? Paramatma is 13th chapter. Krishna says that Anu Upadrashta Anu Mantacha. This Paramatma is sitting there. What is he doing? He is Upadrashta. He is overseeing everything. He is witnessing everything. The soul and the super soul, it is said that, are sitting next to each other. However, the soul is looking in the other direction, and then the super soul. So he's not facing Krishna. He is looking in the other direction, and he has all the desires which are not for the satisfying Krishna. He's desiring of getting nice education. He's desiring of getting married to a nice spouse. And he's desiring to have a nice home, big home. Already have a small home, want to give a big home, want to buy a car, want to go foreign locations for vacations, want to do this, want to eat there, want to go and buy that, want to buy some nice jewelry. So these are all desires that the soul is expressing, and super soul, who is just next to it, is overseeing the activities of the soul, overseeing whatever is happening, and he's permitting. if the karma is available for that person to go and buy jewelry, he's sanctioning it. If the karma permits him to have a new car, he's sanctioning it. Super Soul is sanctioning it. And with this sanction, he's executing. And he's thinking, Ishwara aham aham bhogi. I'm almost like a Ishwara because I can do whatever I want. If I have worked hard to get to this current position, so anybody who works hard will get to my position very easily. So those who are poor today, who are crying today, are unintelligent people because they are not working hard. They are lazy people. I am Ishvara. I am like a Ishvara. I am like a enjoyer. Ishvara aham aham bhogi. That sense this person develops. And Super Soul is observing all that is happening. He's not interfering. Why? Because he's acting as if Udasina Vadasina. 9.9 which says, unless you become my devotee, I I leave you to your destiny, to your karma. Whatever, if it is there in your karma, I give. Whatever you may desire. You may desire to rob a bank. If you may desire to commit a murder, if your karma is available, I will sanction that. You will be able to successfully rob a bank. And the day your karma is not becomes extinct or becomes exhausted, you will get caught and you will be put behind bars. So I don't interfere into your business because you don't want me to. So Krishna becomes Udasina Vadasina. He's Udasin, just like a judge gives based on evidences presented to in front of him, he gives reward to somebody, gives punishment to somebody else. Now he does not have um, personal desire to punish somebody or reward somebody. Based on his udasin, he is neutral to both of them. He doesn't become happy if somebody gets a reward. He doesn't become happy when somebody goes to jail or become unhappy when somebody gets hanged for some crime. He is udasina. So, so this Bhagavan, so this Paramatma is inside our heart and directing the wandering of the soul everywhere. But the soul need to choose to listen to that Paramatma. So the soul, as a Paramatma, Krishna is available to us, right? Very, very closely. Even if somebody from the outside, some other person come and hug us very tightly, also, he cannot come as close as Paramatma is. Paramatma is that close to us. So is standing just next to us. If we just need to turn towards Krishna and smile and then start listening to his instructions, and then Krishna will take control of our life. So this is Paramatma, Bhagavan. So as a Paramatma, also there is no picture. We cannot take when we collect a heart X-ray, the soul and super soul doesn't appear there because their nature by nature they are spiritual in nature. It's like if you're trying to catch a fish and if you have net, the fishing net which has a size of 1 inch by 1 inch, any fish who has a smaller size will not get caught in that net no matter how hard a person tries because the size itself is small, but it will slip away. Similarly, the nature of soul is spiritual, and the nature of X-ray or sonographic or the material instruments is material. It can only capture what is matter. It cannot capture spirit. So hence, there is no picture of Paramatma that is available. Picture of Brahman is not available. Picture of Paramatma is also not available. But by Prabhupada's grace, we have picture of Paramatma. That Kshirodakshai Vishnu picture was drawn by artists in Los Angeles. And Prabhupada explained them that how Kshirodakshai Vishnu is and how is his helmet, what is the color of his skin, how he's standing. He said this is a standing deity of Vishnu. So Paramatma feature. Paramatma, it's not that he's invisible at all. Paramatma yogis who meditate on the Lord in heart, Paramatma can get manifested to them. But the yogic process itself is extremely difficult and can take very, very long time. So that is not a recommended, Dhyana Yoga is not a recommended path for the current Yuga. Third is Bhagavan. Now, as Bhagavan, Krishna is residing in his abode and performing various pastimes with his dear devotees in the spiritual world. Now, as a spiritual world, as a Bhagavan, he has a form. As Paramatma, also he has a form, but it is not conceivable, visible to our eyes. But by meditation, by perfecting yogic practice, we can get a darshan of Paramatma in Brahman. There is no darshan possible, no picture possible. Paramatma darshan is possible, but requires a lot of effort. But Prabhupada's mercy, we have picture of Paramatma, realization of Vishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu, and as a Bhagavan, Krishna is busy residing in his abode, that Tadhama Paramam Mama, performing various pastimes with his devotees. Now, as a Brahman, he is everywhere, but so as a Brahman, Krishna is present everywhere, so he doesn't have to go anywhere. He can make himself accessible and available anywhere and everywhere. But as a Bhagavan, he is far, far, far away. How much away? In the Brahma Samhita, there is a beautiful verse that Panthastu Koti Shata Vatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Rathapi Manaso Mani Sarpunga Vaman Sopyasti Yat Prapada Simna Avachintya Tatve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That Panthastu Koti Shata Vatsara Sampragamyo Vayor Uthapi Manaso Munipundimana. So even somebody travels faster than the speed of mind for how many years? For Shatakoti, thousands and thousands of years. Also, if somebody travels faster than the speed of mind, also one will not even be able to see the prapada. Pada means leg, feet, and prapada means the top portion, the toe portion of the feet of that achintya tatve, that supreme lord's feet, the top, the agra is the top portion of that feet also will never become visible to anybody who may want to travel faster than the speed of mind for thousands and thousands of years. Which means he is that far. He is just beyond the reach of ordinary soul. But so extending thousands and thousands of years. But the same Lord, another beautiful verse which says that Apani Pado Javano Grahaltha Pashyati Achakshushaha Sa Shranoti Akarnaha. So he's saying that Apani Pado. Now he does not have hand. That absolute truth that God does not have hand or does not have legs. But he moves when you offer bhoga, when you offer naividyam to him, when you offer bhoga to Lord with love and devotion, as said in 9th chapter Bhagavad Gita, 26th verse. Patram pushpam phalam toyam jome bhaktya prayashyati. That with love and devotion, when you offer the bhoga to the Lord, even though he does not have hand and does not have feet, he moves and he comes quickly to come and receive that bhoga offering from you. When you offer it with love, how he comes? He's everywhere anyway. Yeah, as a Brahman, he's everywhere. Now he, as his Brahman realization is the same as he in Paramatma realization, and the same tattva is Bhagavan realization. So while he's playing pastimes with his devotees as a Bhagavan, simultaneously he is aware of his Brahman realization and Paramatma realization all simultaneously going on. Is it conceivable? May not be. That's why it is inconceivable. How it can happen simultaneously. So this verse says that without hand and feet, he moves and he receives. Then He does not have eyes, achakshushaha, but he pashyanti. He pashyanti means he sees. Even though he does not have material eyes, he sees. How? We'll see, find out later. And without ears, he can hear. If you are chanting with a lot of sincerity of heart in the early morning hours, you think nobody is listening, but Krishna, this verse says that he hears. Even though you may not find ears to him, he will hear. Why? He does not, these are all contradiction at the material level, but at deep level, it explains the opulence of the Lord. It explains opulence of the Lord. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, beautiful verse that Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matsthani sarvabhutani na chaham tvesho avasthitam. And then the next verse, this verse means, Krishna says that by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Similar concept. If I am inside everything, then all beings are in me. Everyone is inside me, but I am not in them. Very contradictory. And next verse, Krishna says that Nachamasthani Bhutani Pashyame Yogameshwaryam. Yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Everything is in me, but everything is not in me. Behold my mystic opulence. You may get confused. What are you really trying to say? You know, Hindi picture में कोई dialogue है, कहना क्या चाहते हो? भाई कहना क्या चाहते हो? What are you really trying to say? If everything inside you or everything not inside you, and you are inside everything or you are outside everything, what are you really trying to say? And then he doesn't explain. He says, Pashya me yogam aishwaryam. See my mystic opulence. And behold my mystic opulence, Arjuna. Bhuta bhrunascha bhutasto mamatma bhuta bhavana. He says, although I am the maintainer of all living beings, although I am everywhere, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the source of this whole creation. So very contradictory. Krishna doesn't care to explain. He says, Pashyame yoga maishwaryam. See behold my mystic opulence. So this is my opulence, mystic opulence. Now he does not have material hands. As a Paramatma, as a Brahman, he's as a fragrance of Suji Halwa, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. Similarly, as Bhagwan, he's everywhere. All the entire material creation is his energy. And he's practically everywhere. There's no place in this creation where Krishna is not present. But we don't see hands, legs, eyes, and ears. If I say that somebody is sitting next to me, I would like to look into their eyes. I would like to see if they are listening when I'm speaking. I would like to see if I'm offering this clicker to them, are they able to receive it? And if I've walked out of this room, then I want to see whether they also come follow me. And for that to happen, they should have eyes, ears, material body, just like me. This is my conception. This is my understanding. But Krishna says he does not have material legs, material hands, material eyes and ears, but they have all transcendental hands, transcendental eyes, transcendental ears, using which he can do anything. So he is not limited by our material conceptions. He's not limited by our fundamental basic understanding, tiny understanding of how a person should be and how he should walk, how he should accept, how he should listen, how he should see. Krishna is not doesn't belong to this world. We are all belonging to a spiritual world, but he always had that understanding that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. So he can do anything and he can do everything and he can still remain aloof from everything. So Prabhupada writes further that yet the personality of Godhead comes before us. We neglect him. Such foolish negligence is condemned by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, where he says, the foolish deride him, considering him a mortal being. He is not a mortal being. He is not a mortal being, nor does he come before us with a body produced by the material nature. Avajananti ma mudha. Manushi Tamamashritam Param Bhavamajananto Mama Bhutam Maheshwara. That I am the Lord of everything. You don't understand me. Avajantanti Mam Mudham. Very foolish persons think that um, think of me as um, as one who has taken ashray of a body, manushim tanamashritam, that which is made up of flesh. I'm not. I'm not. They need to understand that I am beyond all this. Um, and they need to understand my transcendental nature and supreme lord of all this creation. So if they don't, then what is given in the 7.25, another beautiful verse, where Krishna says, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavitaha Mudhoyam na Abhijanati Loka Mam Ajam Avyayam Loka Mam Ajam Avyayam Mudho, that I have never manifested to the foolish and unintelligent persons, for them I am covered by my internal potency. Yoga Maya Samavitaha. And covered by my internal potency, Yoga Maya. Therefore, they do not know that I am unborn and incapable. So they continue to go. If you don't know that, then what will you know? You will know that you will try to think of Krishna just like another human being. And therefore, you will try to force your laws of material nature on Krishna. That will not work. That is foolish. Krishna says, both verses, Krishna says, this 9.11 and 7.25, both verses we read, Krishna says, Mudha, foolish people. We don't want to become such foolish people, so we want to become intelligent people, so that Krishna can reveal himself to us. He does not, he doesn't cover himself by Yoga Maya. He reveals himself. And towards the end of this this book, the verses 15 to 18 of the devotee who is praying is offering prayers to reveal to the absolute truth, to remove the cover from his face and reveal himself to him. Very beautiful verses there are. So Prabhupada says further that because he is full of inconceivable potencies, God can accept our service through any sort of medium. He can convert his different potencies according to his own will. For example, Lord can appear in the form of the Archa Vigraha, a deity supposedly made up of earth, stone, or wood. Deity forms, although engraved from wood, stone, or other matter, are not idols. As the iconoclast contained. Iconoclast means those who are against the deity worship. There are people who are believers or the non-believers. Islam, people from Islam, especially Islamic Christianity, they don't they Islam especially goes to the extent of destroying deities. Is the iconoclast means those who are just don't oppose it intellectually. They want to go and destroy those deities, so that those people, they believe that a Lord cannot appear, Lord who is so great, God who is so great, who is so powerful, who is everywhere, he cannot put him into this small deity and call this is Lord. This is false God. They call it false God, and therefore you should be, unless this false God concept is destroyed, the population at large cannot be taken to the real God who is formless. This is the conception of Islam typically, and many people who oppose deity worship, they are called iconoclast. Another famous, there's a verse in scriptures, Natasya Pratima Asti. Natasya Pratima Asti. This is used by many of those scholars, so-called scholars, to demonstrate, to prove their point that God is formless. God is formless. Now, one found this interesting statement on the while researching on this, that it says that this is the interpretation by a few internet scholars. who have never studied Sanskrit. The real meaning of this verse that there is no parallel to God. Latasya pratima asti. Now, people plan, and we understood that the previous one of our previous session that every sentences can be understood at three levels. The literal meaning, there's a ethical meaning, there's a metaphorical meaning. And then we say that Manushanam Sahastreshu. Krishna says in third verse of Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, third verse, is Manushanam Sahastreshu. Does it literally mean after 1,000 people, one person will try and endeavor to become Krishna conscious? No, it's a Bahunam Janmana Mante, Gyanavan Mantamapita. What is the measure of Bahuna? It is 100, 200, 500 years. Bahuna, how many births after one will come to the stage where Vasudevam Sarvamiti, one may conclude that Vasudev is Sarvamiti and I need to Krishna is everything and I need to just worship Krishna, just need to become Krishna conscious, just follow his instruction, and that is good enough. How that coming to this realization, Krishna says you may take Bahunam Janmanam. What is Bahuna? There's no, so it's a metaphoric. Bahuna means many, it could be millions. For somebody, it can be millions of births. For somebody, it can be billions of births. And for somebody, it can be trillions of births also. We don't know. And so the literal meaning always may not give us correct conclusion. It can become misleading. So natasya pratimasti. Many you will find many people debate using this sentence from Vedas that there is no form of God, and then hence whatever deity worship that you're performing is useless. It is time pass. It is not giving you any benefit. You should stop doing it. So wherever possible, when they were ruling, they destroy those images for that purpose. That people then can be converted into Islam and true God, they can practice true religion of formless God. Now, if God, if when we say everybody agrees that God is all powerful, omnipotency is not disputed. God can do anything. Now, this is one aspect is accepted by all the people, whoever are these people, religious, so-called religious people, or so-called scholars from other religion. They all accept the fact that God is omnipotent. God is God knows all this omnipotency, omniscient, and omnipresent. These three characteristics of God are well accepted across all religions. Whoever has some conception of God, they will agree that these three qualities God has to have. Whoever that God is, he must have these three qualities, possess these three qualities. Now, if we say that God cannot manifest himself in a deity form, is it not by itself putting a limitation on God? That God is doing, he can do anything, but he cannot appear as a form in the form of a deity, small deity. If I say this, is it that is actually putting a limitation on God? Because if God can do anything and everything, he should also be able to manifest himself in form of a small deity. So the argument that is presented by the scholars is self-defeating. One is they don't have correct understanding of the pratima. They go by the literal meaning. Even if they take literal meaning, it is not still serving the purpose because it is putting limitation on the God. They are limiting God. The concept of God is he cannot be limited. He has all the power in his whatever you can think of. So he can do anything, he can do everything, he knows everything, and he is present everywhere. These three characteristics, God, whoever he is, has to have. And if one says that he cannot appear in form of a small deity, which is putting limitations on God, so it defeats my own basic fundamental assumption about God. So it is not helpful. We see this with an example of an elephant. The deity, basically, the concept of deity. Now, there's a tall, majestic elephant, very tall, very powerful, walking on the street with everyone look at him with amaze. with lot of appreciation, lot of they get mesmerized by his prowess, lot of powerful elegance he's demonstrating, and everyone is so impressed by that elephant. Now, a small child is also impressed like that, and now the child wish to touch the ears of that elephant or want to scratch his head. It's not possible for the child to do. Elephant is so tall, so magnanimous, so powerful. You can't, ask. You can't just pull him down, by your force. Can't no chance of doing that. So that child is maybe a small child today, but even if he grows up, elephant is going to be continue to be very very tall, way tall than him to be able to touch his scratch his head or scratch his ear, touch his ear. So what is the what can then happen? Now, at a request, if we make a request to that elephant, and elephant decides to sit down on the ground and bring his head closer to the child, so that the child can easily touch the head of that elephant, touch the ears of that elephant. So elephant, by sitting down, has not become less powerful, has not lost any of his magnanimity that he was displaying earlier. The majesty that elephant had is also there when he chooses to sit down. But by sitting down now, he is making himself available and accessible to somebody who wish to touch his head. Similarly, God, God is all powerful. Krishna is all powerful. He knows everything. He's everywhere present. So by that, and he's in his abode. He's also in as Paramatma in the heart of everyone. But none of these forms of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, um, they are helpful for us to develop loving sentiments towards him, because because we have in the material body, um, we need a material form in order to focus our attention, and for that Krishna chooses to make himself available and accessible in form of a deity. You see, seventh chapter Bhagavad Gita, third and fourth verse, Krishna says that the fourth verse especially, he says that this material world, the third verse, this the Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu, Kham Mana, the these five elements of nature and Mana Buddhi Ahankar, these eight component Ashtadha, that they are part of his separated energy. So he can, so all of these are his energy only. Even if a deity is made up of whatever, wood, metal, stone, all are Krishna's separated energy. And Krishna, at his will, can convert his material element energy into spiritual energy and vice versa. So he can manifest inside his material energy easily. And now, that is what deity is. That is what deity is. So, as a Bhagavan, he is present everywhere. As a Paramatma, he is inside our heart. And as a Bhagavan, he is in his abode. And as a deity, he is right in front of us. Right in front of us, he becomes happy. God is not so much concerned about showing his prowess, equivalence to the devotee. When elephant is interested in this small child, in the happiness of this child, so he sits down and he doesn't want to show that child how powerful he is, how he can lift and throw that child away at his will. He's not interested in demonstrating his power. Rather, he is, he's sitting down and coming closer to the child so that he can have a relationship with that child. The child is able to reciprocate offer service to the elephant, and an elephant can reciprocate with him. God is doing the same thing when he's appearing in form of a deity. He's coming closer to us, making himself accessible to us. Serving, offering agarbatti to Lord who is in spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan. Um, he may accept, he will accept, but we will have no idea that how he has accepted. But as a deity, he can come and accept, and that's why that's the deity. That's the concept of deity, that he chooses to come closer to us, make himself available in the material form, so that he can become available to us. He can accept services from us. Devotees can render service to him. So that's why he comes in form of a deity by his mercy. Both matter and spirit are his energy, and he can convert easily matter into spirit. So that's why the deity we see of Radha Rasbiare ji, Radha Madhav ji, Krishna Balram, Radha Shyam Sundar, Radha Madhav, Mayapur, these are even though they are made up of material which are material in which are amongst those five elements of nature, which is nothing but his separated energy, but he can convert that energy into spiritual energy at his own will. And he does it when he's requested to do. So deity is manifested for providing accessibility. And the purpose of Lord's appearance as deity is to not show his majesty, not show his opulence, not show his prowess. So he doesn't do things which otherwise, we read in scriptures that Lord does. As when he comes as a deity, his primary purpose is to make himself available for services to be rendered by the devotees. So accept services. That is his purpose. That is why he comes. But does it mean that he doesn't have prowess? No. Few days back, Sudhi Prabhuji shared a beautiful video in our group where we saw Radha Madhav from Mayapur adjusted his flute. Does he have to do every day? He doesn't, because that's not what he's here for. When he comes here as a deity, his primary goal, primary purpose is to extend himself or make himself available to the devotees, so that devotees can come from front of him. They can render service to the deity. They can offer bhoga to the deity. They can dress deities nicely. They can nicely take care of these deities, and they can purify themselves in the process. They can become Krishna conscious, and eventually they can go back to Krishna. They can come to Krishna's abode. So deity is that extension that Lord is providing by his mercy. The purpose of deity is not to show how his opulence. So that's why we see sometimes the deity is there, the flies are flying here, sitting on the deity. Deity is not able to do anything. Somebody may say your deity is so useless. What kind of a deity? What kind of a god that you have who can't even ask a fly to go? Now Lord is sitting inside the heart of that fly also. But that is not the purpose for which a deity appears. Deity appears for receiving services from the devotees. Now the devotees should, on the other hand, think that I need to maintain my altar in more cleaner way, so that no fly comes here. So it's an opportunity for devotees to serve. That's what deity is. So similarly, we have a lot of these people from Islam, especially. They consider Quran to be a very sacred book. Christianity, people consider Bible to be a sacred book. Now they may criticize deity worship, but we understand that their books are sacred or holy books. Now you can imagine a normal book will burn. You take any book in newspaper, if you lit fire to it, it will burn. If you take a Bible or Quran, and if you lit fire to it, that will also burn. Now, burning is not, by burning, we don't prove a point that book is not sacred anymore. Because the sacredness or the specialty of book is not in its fireproofness. Book doesn't become sacred or special like Bhagavad Gita, Quran, or even Bible doesn't become special just because if they can become fireproof, then they are special. That's not the evidence of their speciality. Their speciality is in the instructions, the wisdom that it is offering through its instructions. So a book has to be used for that purpose. Similarly, a deity has to be seen for the purpose why it is established, why it is being manifested by Lord. So Lord is as a deity is not is there to receive service and is not to interfere into the service of the devotees. He's not he does that at his own will. We see many heard of many pastimes from all over India. Jagannath Puri, we Chilchur Gopinath, Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, these all the dhams are very special because they have lots pastimes taken place in those places, and those are still going on. Pujari, many stories we have heard where pujaris saw deities, where the deities manifest in the dreams of the pujaris and give them instructions, give them realizations. That's been hundreds and thousands of stories where people have experiences that people have taken, people have documented those. But that's not the primary reason why deity manifests. It doesn't manifest to interfere into the local politics to make one party win, one party lose. It doesn't do. It's not interested in doing that. It is coming so that we can offer our prayers to him, we can offer our services to him. That's the real purpose for which a deity chooses to manifest. So, one gives that example that in our present state of imperfect material existence, we cannot see Supreme Lord due to imperfect vision. Yet, those devotees who wants to see him by means of material vision are favored by the Lord, who appear in a so-called material form to accept his devotees' service. One should not think that such devotees who are in the lowest stage of devotional service are worshipping an idol. Now, the concept of idol also needs to be understood. Now, idol we have many statues made. So we have many we see many images of statues being made of constructed of many politicians or many film stars in some part of India. We have statues of film stars, statues of people who have done significant contribution to the society or politicians. They are commonly made statues. So now this statue is a look-alike of that person when that person was in that particular body. Even if he is alive in this particular current body, if this statue reflect the current or that kind of body, whatever body he had, and we remember statue for the activities that they perform in that particular life. But after the person has left that particular body, now person has moved on to another body. Now this statue and that person who is gone to another body, maybe another human body or an animal body based on their karma, there is no intrinsic relationship between the two, which means, um, but so the idol not is not a representation of the original person, but the deity is. So the idol of the person whose idols are being worshipped may have moved to another body and has now got another form. Now he himself may not be able to recognize this particular body which was there. So, so this is not idol worship. This is factually worshipping the Lord who has agreed to appear before them in an approachable way. God is the archer form fashioned according to the whims of the worshipper. This form is eternally existent with all paraphernalia. This can be actually felt by a sincere devotee, but not by an atheist. We can discuss this point with one example. We have a feeling called patriotism. Okay, whenever we see a tricolor being hosted, we fly a tricolor flying with majesty, a tall flag, tricolor. Whenever we see, we stop and we look at it, and then we feel nice, we feel patriotic. Desha Bhakti. We feel patriotic by seeing flying magnanimous tricolor. What does tricolor represent? Tricolor represents our nation. Now, our nation is not limited to that rectangle, but it's a symbol of that nation. The nation is big. India is from north to south, the east to west. It's a big country, but that map is also not there under tricolor. It just have those three colors and then the Ashok Chakra. But it's a symbol that my country, symbol of that my country, and I'm supposed to feel very patriotic by looking at it. And we do get those patriotic emotions by looking at whenever we see tricolor flying. We see in Olympic, especially when we won medal and our flag is hoisted. Somebody wins gold, for example, then their flag will be hoisted, and then their national anthem will be played, and we see the players they cry with joy. That's their love for nation that get manifested through these emotions. What if um, we choose to change this tricolor from tri to bicolor? What if we choose tomorrow, new government will come, for example, and they decide that, okay, two colors are enough. We don't need three colors. So let's only have saffron and white, and then have that circle in between. Let's make it a bicolor flag. And if they go ahead and amend whatever constitution, whatever is required legally to be done, and they tomorrow come out with a bicolor flag. Now, till yesterday, we were feeling patriotic by looking at a tricolor. Will we get the same patriotic feeling by looking at the bicolor flag? We will eventually, because practically there's no intrinsic connection between the form and the representation of that form. So flag is the country is a form. Country has a form, and the flag has a symbol representation of that form is a symbolic representation of that original form. But there's no intrinsic connection between the two. I can change my symbol and I can still feel the patriotism. You can just pause here and we'll just see if you are still understanding. So there is a form and there is a symbol of that form. And the country has a form, nation has a form. We have boundaries, we have states, we have directions, there's a area, and a tricolor is a symbol of that form. We look at tricolor, we remember country, and we can feel patriotism, love for our country. If tomorrow this tricolor become bicolor flag, only two colors, we'll still continue to get the same feeling. You can just say yes or why, or you can just type why in the so that I know you are with me. You are understanding this. Some of you can type yes or here why to understand and no to not understanding. Y or N. Okay, we'll try to explain it with some other example. So I'm saying the country has a form, nation has a form, and as a symbol of that form is a tricolor flag. Tomorrow we may change this tricolor to bicolor, and we will continue to feel that patriotic feeling we continue to get by looking at the bicolor flag tomorrow. Will it? But and then this is possible because there is no connection, intrinsic connection between the form and the symbol of that form. Tomorrow, a lot of us want to carry, the picture of spouses in their wallets, when they have. Extend the same example to a picture that you keep in your wallet of your spouse. And if you change that picture, for example, and if I change my wife's picture, instead of my wife's picture, I put picture of some other lady, will it mean the same? It will not mean the same, because now I cannot change that. Why? Because there is an intrinsic connection between my wife and her picture. And by putting picture of some other female, I cannot say that I look at this female, but I still remember you. That's not possible. So why? Because there has to be an intrinsic connection between a form and the representation of that form. That is a symbol. So a deity is actually, there's an intrinsic connection between deity and the original Lord. It's representation of Lord himself. It's actually the Lord himself manifesting in front of us. It's not like a symbol which has no connection between the original form and the symbol. So Archa Vigraha gets prepared, constructed, and manifested as per the instructions of the Shastras. And those forms eternally exist. Those forms are there. There's an intrinsic connection. When Krishna is simultaneously present in all the forms, in all the temples, and simultaneously he is present in his abode also. And simultaneously he is receiving bhoga. Every ISKCON temple, he's been woken up at 4:30 when devotees, he gets ready to listen to the Guru, the Samsara Davanala prayer, Mangala Arati prayers that are offered to him at 4:30 a.m. in all the temples of Islam. Simultaneously, he enjoys bhoga offered to him at 12 o'clock noon. So, he does that. He's actually there, and that's what we have to have, that understanding that when there is an intrinsic connection between the symbol, the deity that we see, and the original Lord. So everything is not fashioned according to our whims. The Archa Vigraha is created, is prepared, and is established according to the instructions given in the Pancharatriki Puranas. So we invite Lord, and at our request he comes. How? That cannot be understood by an atheist, but a sincere devotee can feel, can understand it. Prabhupada gives, he quotes this 4.11, where Lord says how he treats his devotee depending on the devotee's degree of surrender to him. Lord reserves the right not to reveal himself. Naham Pramasha Sarvasya. So we saw that verse 7.25, Yoga Maya Samavritam. The Lord reserves the right not to reveal himself to anyone and everyone, but to show himself only to those souls who surrenders unto him. Thus, for the surrendered soul, he is always within reach, whereas for the unsurrendered soul, he is far, far away and cannot be approached. Prabhupada gives a move on to the qualities of sagunas and nirguna. This is also again a widely discussed concept between spiritualists or those who are believers of God. Is God saguna or nirguna? Many songs are there, saguna, nirguna. They say that nirguna, you have no qualities, oh Lord, and how they sing these songs for glorification of God by calling him that you have no qualities, you are useless. I don't know how they feel when they call him, you are with no qualities. How is Lord supposed to feel glorified by calling him without any qualities? He says, rather in our Vaishnava song, he says, Sabaguna Sagara, Sabaguna Agara, Sabasuguna Agara. Your abode of all the qualities that are there but anybody, all of us, whatever qualities we all have, they all come from Krishna. So Sabaguna Sagara, Sabaguna Agara. So Krishna has all the qualities, but people call him Nirguna, without qualities. So let's understand this concept. The word Saguna does not imply that when the Lord appears with perceivable qualities, he must take on a material form and be subject to the laws of material nature. For him, there is no difference between the material and spiritual energies because he is the source of all energies. As the controller of all energies, he cannot at any time be under their influence. As we are, the material energy works according to his direction. Therefore, he can use that energy for his purpose without ever being influenced by any of the qualities of the nature energy. So is God Saguna or Nirguna? So he is, no, he doesn't have to demonstrate his gunas by taking of material form, just like we have. If I have to say that I have a good singing ability, I need to have a material body and a voice, and I have to have ability to sing. And to demonstrate that ability to sing by coming in a material body. But Lord, for Lord, everything is his energy, material and spiritual. So he can demonstrate everything and anything without having to take the material form. Because material form is not influenced by matter. He's not influenced by the Prakriti, the Mahamaya, the one who is controlling all of us. He's not under her control. In fact, he is the master of hers. When he says that Daiviya Esha Gunamani Mama Maya Duratvaya, that Maya is my energy, and she is Daivi, and she is filled with the three gunas. She's the controller of those three gunas, Sattva, Raja, Tama gunas. And unless you surrender to me, it is impossible for you to cross over that Maya, that Maya Devi. Then another verse, 9.10, it says, Maya Abhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sajjana. So the material world works under my supervision, Abhyakshana. Prabhupada gives example by discussing another beautiful point by his inside and outside everything. Another last point that we have. And Prabhupada quotes the beautiful story of appearance of Narsimha Dev, which will happen soon. Narsimha Chaturdashi is approaching. So Narsimha Dev appears, and then Prabhupada gives us in the purport that child saint Prahlad Maharaj was in the presence of his atheist father. His father asked him, "Where is your God?" When Prahlad replied that God resides everywhere, the father angrily asked whether his God was within one of the pillars of his palace. And then the child said yes. At once, the atheist king shattered the pillar in front of him into pieces. And the Lord instantly appeared as Narsimha, half man, half lion, and complete Bhagavan. He's half lion, half man, but full Bhagavan, full God. And that incarnation, beautiful incarnation, and killed the atheist king instantly. Thus, the Lord is within everything, and He creates everything by His different energies. Though His inconceivable powers, He can, through His inconceivable powers, He can appear at any place in order to favor His sincere devotee. Lord Narsimha appeared from within the pillar, not by the order of the atheist king, Hiranyakashipu, but by the wish of his pure devotee, Prahlad. An atheist cannot order the Lord to appear, but the Lord will appear anywhere and everywhere to show mercy to his devotees. Often the lunch table conversations happens that if Lord exists, why he is not there when I was going through so much problems? Why the nation is going through so much trouble? Where was he? Now, these are commonly heard statements from not atheistic people, but people have less understanding about God and his potencies and his energies. We need to understand God, and then we can realize how God is everywhere. and how at the same time God does not interfere and why he doesn't interfere. Otherwise, those foolish statements we hear and people keep going away from God, unfortunately. So, so the Bhagavad Gita 4.8 similarly states that the Lord appears in order to vanquish non-believers and protect the believers. Uh, of course, the Lord has sufficient energies and agents who can vanquish atheists, but it pleases him to personally favor a devotee. So he comes for the pleasure of devotee. So Lord, so there is a unique relationship where in Krishna consciousness, a devotee is always trying to make Lord happy. And here we see that Lord is also trying to make devotees happy. Lord personally is endeavoring to make devotees happy. Whatever that pleases a devotee, Lord is personally willing to do. So Krishna wanted to give association to Arjuna. Now Krishna is already present in Arjuna's heart as Paramatma, but he wants to become his charioteer. So he wants to do seva. He wants to do seva for Yudhishthir Maharaj. So he accepts the services of washing feet of guests that were arriving at the Yajna. So he's always ready to do anything for the pleasure of his devotees. And this is a unique, sweet exchange that continuously goes on between Lord and his sweet devotees. So therefore, Prabhupada writes further that therefore he descends as an incarnation. Actually, the word incarnation, karna is flesh, and incarnation is the translation for the word avatar. Now, avatar is avatarati iti avatar. Avatar is descending by his own will. Now, it's not the word incarnation with the translation of this avatar is not accurate because karna means flesh. And the incarnation is accepting the flesh, accepting the body which is made up of flesh. So to that extent, this English interpretation is incorrect. But avatar, the word Sanskrit word, the Hindi translation of it is better. It's more accurate. So usually he descends only to favor his devotees and not for any other purpose. Brahma Samhita, last section, Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Govinda, the primeval Lord, enters everything by his plenary portion. He enters the universe as well as the atoms of the universe. He is outside his Virat form and he is within everything. And Antaryami, he witnesses everything that is going on. And he awards us the results of our actions as karma phala. We ourselves may forget what we have done in the previous lives, but because the Lord is our actions, witness to our actions, so the results of our actions are always there, and we have to undergo the reactions nonetheless. The fact is that there is nothing but God everywhere, within and without. Everything is a manifestation of his different energies, like the heat and light emanating from a fire. And in this way, there is oneness amongst his diverse energies. Although there is oneness, however, the Lord in his personal form still enjoys unlimitedly all the pleasures enjoyed minutely by a tiny part and parcel living entities. Conclude, we'll summarize. This verse that God walks, does not walk, and so on and so forth. So, lot of seemingly contradictory statements were present in this particular verse, and we tried understanding those with reference to the scriptural references given by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. So God cannot be understood by our own intelligence or by logic. He can do seemingly materially impossible things very easily due to his omnipotence and through his energies. Seemingly impossible things, materially seemingly impossible things, he can very easily do because of his omnipotence and through his energies. He pervades everything as Brahman. He is inside everyone as Paramatma, everyone and everything as Paramatma. And as Bhagavan, he is present in his abode, performing pastimes with his devotees. By his mercy, he chooses to appear as Archavigraha, a deity, to make himself available and accessible to enable his devotees to render loving devotional service. Deity and Lord are one and the same. Hence, can provide all the benefit of personal association to anyone who approaches him with faith. Anyone who sees the deity, offer obeisances to the deity with faith, actually gets benefit of offering benefit the obeisances to person to the Lord, as if the Lord were in person, because deity and Lord are actually not different. To others, he don't reveal himself. They may consider him as stone or metal, but and cannot benefit from the association. Now he's present for everyone. Radha Rasbiaraji is present for everyone. But for a faithless person, he can't benefit out of it. That association, he's unable to take his association, he's unable to benefit out of the association that Lord is readily offering, the Radha Madhav is offering to the Bhiwandi town. Now, those who have no faith, they are unable to benefit out of that association. He is personally present in Bhiwandi. He is personally present in Juhu. There are so many people in Juhu who may live in stone throw distance from the temple, may not have ever visited that temple. That they are atheists, they are faithless, and they cannot benefit from this close proximity that Lord is readily offering. And those souls are most unfortunate. So we conclude this session today, and we'll break for the question answer now. Let us see if there are any questions. This was a slightly technical set, Archavigraha especially. A lot of points they come up in those discussions about deity worship. Why I did not allow people to everyone to speak, because that we just wanted to keep discussion on one track. You can refer to the slides, you can go through the other recording, and you can probably listen to some portions once again to gain understanding. Because at times we speak out of a lot of misconception. So I just didn't wanted us to get distracted and keep bringing everyone on the right track. Therefore, I spoke continuously. But nevertheless, I'll be happy if I'll happy to see if anyone has any questions or comments now, and we'll open up for the questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Means the way you took it, like it is, as you mentioned, that it is a bit technical. It is a really very technical topic to understand. But the way with the examples and with the help, means the easier you made it to understand. It was such wonderful one that uh, that uh, this is more often quoted verse, as you quoted from one of the Vedas, that Natasya Pratimasti, and lot of misconception comes out of that, and people are, because not of in that knowledge, and they are not able to understand, and at times it happens with the practicing devotees as well, that many conceptions can put their devotional path aside because of these misconceptions which are not getting clear. But you are taking it in such a wonderful way that it ultimately comes that ultimately we need to have faith on the Lord, and that faith, as Lord Krishna also mentions, that dadami buddhi yogam tam yen mamopi antite. That as you gave so many examples, that it cannot be understood by logic. It is beyond logic, rather trans logic, as you used the word wonderfully before. So the similar thing goes actually with the Lord, that we cannot understand Him with the logic, and He is trans logic. But when we see the devotion of our senior devotees, and the mood with which they are trying to serve Lord, ultimately it gives us more faith. And not only that, but ultimately whatever relishment they are getting with engaging themselves in the service of Lord, ultimately that gives the more intensified faith to love and serve God. Otherwise, these topics, as you mentioned, that with the logic it cannot be understood, because it is very controversial, that one who does not have leg, how he can walk, and our mind and intelligence cannot perceive those kind of things. But with the method prescribed by Lord, simplified by Srila Prabhupada, and very easily broken into beautiful examples by you, by senior devotees, It is just wonderful to digest them, accept them, and then keep on practicing our devotional service with more and more faith by not getting us derailed from the path of devotional service to Lord because of these
Hare
misunderstandings.
Krishna.
So thank you
Thank you
very
so
much,
much.
Guruji.
No,
Hare
this
Krishna.
all
Dandavat
coming
pranam.
from our senior devotees. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, they made sense out of Prabhupada's writing. They provided the examples, which is repeating them in front of you. But yeah, you're right. In one sense, they can be even bewildering to the practicing devotees also. Because now it's easy to discuss or debate with a non-devotee that God exists and speak about how God exists and how God uh, created everything. It's not going to ban. At times, those discussions are simpler. But when it comes to discuss amongst believers and especially the Mayavadis and the non-Mayavadis, we all of us are not really well equipped to speak on the topic. We keep hearing this, but now these are not nectarian topics. They are not Damodar Leela, which we can remember, anytime. We can. We've heard it once. We probably heard beautiful. We can recall that beautiful pastime just anywhere. Now these are technical arguments and very and they need more reading and deep study of scripture. So our very similar devotees have done that. They made those examples available in more lucid way. They speak. I've tried doing that in my way. But these conversations with another believers, they become more difficult. It is rather easy to debate and defeat a person who is a non-believer. But within believers, when that conversation happens, that can become really difficult. And when people start quoting verses from Vedas, it can become even more difficult if we are unable to make sense out of those and give them proper understanding. So at times it can be very discouraging for devotees also, practicing devotees also, if when they are unable to justify how forms are, when somebody says that God is formless, why you're going to the temple and seeing that form? It's foolish to worship a form. So if we are unable to we are unable to know within our heart what is what, that is one part of it. So even if we have that conviction, we will not get bewildered by such comments. That is number one. And when we will have that faith, we will have that conviction, it will become easier for us to convey it to others. Conveying it to others can become easy when we have deep conviction within ourselves. If we not, then if we forget that God as Brahman will not have a form. As a Paramatma, he is inside my heart, is not clickable picture. And as a Bhagwan, he is so far away that is beyond the reach of material world and material equipments. So, in sense, but as a Archa Vigraha, he's available in front of me. And he's because the Vigraha is made out of energy of Lord, he can convert his energies. And if he chooses to. And why he chooses to come before because of the pleasure of giving pleasure to the devotees. Now, this is Leela. Now, the Krishna, God is not a boring person. He is a reciprocal person. He's personal with his devotees and he relates and he exchanges emotions with his devotees. And therefore, he can reciprocate. He's not just working as a judge who has no concern about you. So a judge does not want to get engaged with those for whom he is pronouncing judgments. But Krishna is interested in us. Krishna wants us to become interested in him. Therefore, he is ready to perform Leela. So God's energies, God's Leela. Now, through these Leela and his energies, understanding Leelas and understanding his energies, understanding uh, that gives us more deeper understanding of the God, concept of God. And if you don't have these two understandings, you will not understand God badly. You cannot have proper understanding of God. And then you will have this conception. So you just look at one side of the coin and think that is complete. It's like we spoke this with somebody that a fifth standard book in Urdu, a fifth standard book in Sanskrit, and fifth standard book in English remains a fifth standard book anyway. It will not help you pass 10th standard exam by reading a fifth standard book, no matter which language it is written in. So when you go to 10th standard, you get deeper understanding of the Leelas, understanding of the opulence of the Lord. Pashyame Yogam Aishwaryam. He says that, and he demonstrated to Arjuna. So when we understand his opulence, his Leela, then we understand why he is doing what he is doing and how he can still appear as a small deity in front of me, in every home. Just like sunrise can enter right now, entering into all of your homes plus my home. Similarly, Lord can be present in all the forms, all the archavigrahas where he's been invited to by his devotees and accept services simultaneously. And at the same time, be present in his abode. At the same time, be present everywhere, omniscient Lord as Brahman. And same time, he can reside in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So, so that was a conception. I hope it was useful. We'll just see if anybody has any other questions. How do we see the events of duties being destroyed and by the invaders in the past? So Srinivas has a question. Now this the event. I mean, so one of the reason how do we see those events in the history? Now we have to learn from those events. Now, one of the reasons, if you expand the formlessness of God, which is preached by Mayavada philosophers, basically that is also one of the reasons why we become neutral or we become ignorant about the deities. Because Mayavada philosophy at times preaches that you have to go beyond form. God is formless, but because you are attached to the form, you meditate on any form. You can meditate. So that's why you see Mayavadi temple, they have all kind of deities. Whatever form you want to meditate, you meditate on that form. But remember, as you progress in your spirit, in your meditation, you need to go beyond the form. And then you should be able to meditate on the Brahman, which is formless. So to start with, as an amateur meditator, you are as an amateur devotee, they say you meditate on any form, it doesn't matter. It is like saying you carry picture of any woman, it does not matter. That's not true. Now, God has a form, and God also has God can manifest as a deity. So, if there is intrinsic connection between the two. So, but that's what the Mayavada philosophers failed, and they paraded these ideas everywhere, and the whole society was under that influence. Even today, you will go around and meet people, talk about their conception of God, and you will realize that people still have a lot of people still indirectly believe Mayavada. They'll say all gods are one. This is their common statement that whoever you offer your worship to, it goes to the same God. It doesn't go to the same God. Whoever's picture you keep in your pocket, it doesn't mean the same woman, which is there, which is your spouse, which is your wife, or your sister, or your mother. So all old people are not my parents. My parents are my parents. I can be respectful to all old people, but I have to serve my parents. So there has to be intrinsic connection. Now Mayavada rejects all. When that happens, you become ignorant about the deities because now the deities is only an intermediary arrangement before you start meditating on the absolute, which is formless absolute. So that was also one of the reasons why the people at large become ignorant and careless about deities, about our temples, and that led to the invasion that happened, that took place, and the Islamic rulers, they destroyed deities. Bigger damage was done by Christianity by Britishers. They didn't probably destroyed as many temples as Islamic rulers did, but these people destroyed faith. And they so West is the best is the mantra spoken in every home today. Every home. So their influence on our generation is so deep rooted. The British rule of whatever years um, has caused more damage, has done more damage to our mentality than whatever the Islamic rulers, whatever they could do, these people have done in lesser number of years. And till today, we are unable to come out of that Western influence. Till today, you see, whenever you see a woman wearing short clothes, party wear, so called, and heels and walking, coming out of or torn jeans, bought for maybe 5,000 rupees, with which is torn at 5 places, and they wear it with pride. You know who's influence, who's been influenced, who under whose influence they are acting. This is not Vedic culture. So the influence, the damage done by British rule is far deeper than what was done by Islamic rulers. Islamic rulers came and destroyed temples, and we restored those temples. So, but they didn't. The damage was not so much in the mind. People were rebellious against Islamic rulers, but Britishers have converted our mind only. We feel it is cool to wear torn clothes today. We go and people buy torn jeans cost you 5 to 10,000 rupees of a leading brand. Why would you wear a torn cloth on your body? Or why will you display so many parts of your body instead of wearing a 10,000 rupee dress, costly dress, which reveals so much and covers so little? So all that is possible because of the mindset that got damaged or corrupted by the Britishers. So if you see, this is more damaging than what even Islamic leaders did. So it's a revival that all of us we have to come up with, and one soul at a time. We simply have to go back to our own roots. So hope that answers your question, Ashwin Shukla. Another question is just wanted to share with you. I went to Gupta Mathura and Vrindavan first time I went to with the knowledge of worldly pastimes. But when I returned, I came back with deeper definitions of Windows service. Yes, that was the case with all of us. We all went to Dham for the first time, and we had different conceptions. When I went to Jagannath first with non-devotees, I had a very bad experience. I hated that temple because it had so much rush. So many people are falling over each other. There's no systematic process to enter the temple and come out from the other side. So many people are asking for pandas, troubling everywhere. Um, in general, that was my attitude towards all the temples, because that's what you will see. And contrast to that is when you visit a church. If you are ever visited a church, everything is so clean, everything is so nice, people are so nicely dressed, everything is so peaceful, everything enters in a systematic way. There's a place to sit, there's a place to stand, there's a place to offer prayer. Everything is neat and clean, and so these are the contrasting things that we witness, the materially and the visibly contrasting things that we witness. And unless we see things properly, it can lead us to believe that, oh, that is better because that is cleaner, that is better because that is peaceful, and this is so much noise, so much but is God present there, or is God present here? So it can be misunderstood. Our own religion we can misunderstand, and we can become very udasin towards our own religion, our own beliefs. We may do something because our forefathers wanted to do it, our parents told us to do. but we may not have much faith in that. So that's why the religion has to be revived, and in our Krishna consciousness, we are we are we are changing one heart at a time. We're changing one soul at a time. It's not a mass preaching movement where I may give a speech and 1 lakh people listen to it and becomes influence. May happen, but it will not happen in most probability. So it is changing one heart at a time. That's true. That was the same experience that we all had as well. So when we now go to Dham, we see Dham, we try to see Dham through years, and we hear Krishna Katha. We hear the experiences of the senior devotees, and through that we cultivate our trying to cultivate our own heart towards loving Krishna and serving Krishna. Thank you. We'll see any other questions. Let's end to the session 190. Thank you everyone for staying back, and I'll share the recording and the slides, and then you can go through it. And let me know if in case you have any other questions or any other comments or any other thoughts. We'll be happy to discuss it further. Hare Krishna, and we'll meet continue with our journey. Continue with our journey of Shri Upanishad in our next sessions. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
Hare
दंडवत
Krishna.
प्रणाम
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्ण